All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And again, let me lead off with this. My voice will go in and out, being that it's day 3 of getting to yell and encourage for a couple hours a day. So I'm fighting the good fight, but I truly appreciate you guys coming out and letting me get to talk about the strength conditioning to kick off the 2026 campaign. So Monday was truly excited to get everybody back. The turnout was wonderful. There's a lot of excitement for good reason. So we're breaking it up into phases similar as we've done in the years past. We get the opportunity to have a quick start in terms of an early start compared to some other teams, which I know we're going to take advantage of. But this first phase, it's a general preparation phase. Like I talked about last year, we're trying to build on what each individual guy and then by the group has done in the offseason. And build on it as we get into phase 2 when they get out on the field with football school, and then ultimately prepare them to go into OTAs. So set the foundation for training camp and a successful 2026 year. So with that, I'll open it up with any questions you guys have.
With Jesse now being the new coach here,
Yeah.
what was kind of his, maybe emphasis for you in talking about the offseason program?
Yeah. Getting to work with Coach Mentor is an incredible opportunity, just being that we were able to work together back in 2019 and 2020. And a big point of emphasis that he and I talked about initially and have continued to have dialogue about is how do we continue to progress the detailed approach with each guy? Because the whole notion, the whole communication we have with the guys is whatever we're doing in the weight room or on the field, especially in this phase and as we continue on, is help them be the best version of themselves on the field. So he's been very encouraging on that front. And supportive and finding ways that what we do in here, when I say in here in the weight room and in the indoor, will then translate to their skill set out on the field.
So last year you had a lot of injuries early in the season. What are the changes that you've made or any modifications that you've made?
Yeah, I would take a detailed look at that every year. And like I talked about last year, like it is a physical game. We can talk about the injuries of things that are within control and outside of your control. And trying to mitigate the ones that are in your control. And that's our approach, is from a soft tissue standpoint, looking at ways to progress them in terms of volume and intensity as we get through the spring and really into training camp for the first part of the season. And that's an opportunity of, like you just called out, that we had some injuries early in the year, and they A, subsided, and B, the guys came back from injury. And then that's really the work of our athletic trainers and training room. Dr. Tucker, Adrian Dixon, their staff is truly the best in the business and make our job a lot easier to do in terms of returning guys to play.
So was that kind of like just a fluke when you had so many of them?
Yeah, you could call it a fluke. I mean, you look year over year, you'll see trends. You can also you also see pockets of injuries that are common throughout the league that maybe weren't the case the year before. And you call it a fluke, but you also just call it a physical game where things happen, and you got to navigate it and then get back, to the field of play. The return to play is the biggest aspect. When things happen, how quickly, cautiously, yet aggressively can you get them back, to where they were?
I'm not sure how much liberty you have to talk about attendance, but we've seen Nnamdi around this building. We've seen Nnamdi training on his own. Is Nnamdi here with the team right now?
I can't speak in terms of exact attendance. I will tell you that Beeks is working his tail off, and as I'm sure you've seen online, he is in great shape.
What's the
Great.
communication like with him?
Constant, and it's been with Beeks. It's been wonderful even throughout the last year. Constant communication, and just excited to see where he goes.
And this being voluntary,
Yeah.
I mean, you saw a lot of guys show up.
Yeah.
What about the guys that don't? How do you keep them up to speed with what's going on if they're not here?
Yeah. Again, to your point, the vast majority is here, and the ones who aren't for varying reasons, which is great. It's a voluntary period. Our communication, we're very fortunate to have the resources where we've got position group coaches in the strength conditioning room. So I've got dialogue with the player, and in some cases, most cases, it will be with their personal trainer or strength coach on the outside, and we'll talk about whether it's yards at speed or volume intensity of the runs or lifts, what we're trying to get. I'll share that with them so that they can work to either match it or progress to it, so when they come back, they're ready.
The Ravens obviously brought in a new vice president of performance with a kind of a very different background.
Yeah.
Where do you kind of interface with him, and how has that been working so far?
Yeah, wonderful, exciting, to be honest with you. That speaks to the organization as a whole. I honestly, and I'm biased, I'm standing up here in front of you guys, I'm biased. We're the best culture in the NFL and even in sport. And to your point, bringing in a VP that's outside sport gives us an opportunity to find ways to evolve and have an outside expert in their field that's got years of experience that can come in and either, look for ways to evolve, look for ways to confirm, or change where necessary. And I think that's going to be huge. It's been a great start, I think. And as the guys continue to kind of see that communication, it's only going to benefit them. It all comes down to players.
Last year around this time, a lot of pieces of your building your area were under construction.
Yeah.
What's it like to have kind of the full use of and utility of the new conditioning space?
Yes. The investment that we receive in these four walls throughout the building is unparalleled. And now, we went through like anybody that's renovated a house, you've been through living in it. And then when it's finally done, you get to sit on your couch, look around, and finally take it in. And that's where we're at this off season, because as it was unveiled and fully operating into the season, we had games and you had everything going on. Now, this time of year, where it's just solely focused on for these next 2 weeks, strength conditioning and classroom work, that's where guys are really getting the full benefit while fresh of all the resources that we have here. It's been awesome.
Scott, you mentioned the detailed approach with each guy that you discussed with Jesse. What does that look like for Mike Green? We saw him take a step in the second half last season, and now that he's getting a full offseason of work, what's that look like?
Yeah. The opportunity for Mike Green is it's hard to put into words, because we all saw him take the steps, and what you don't see is how hard he works at his craft in terms of obviously on field, his skill set in the weight room, taking care of his body. And I think the big goal for Mike is, as he continues to grow, it's like any rookie. They're going into their rookie year. This time of year, they were preparing for a battery of tests at the combine, not for playing football. So it's tough for them. It's tough for any of them that they go through a whole offseason preparing for the combine or their pro day, only to come in and it's just full go. So now having a full off season of everything I just mentioned in terms of phase 1 and phase 2, and now with new playbook and all the rest, I'm excited to see the jump that he makes in year 2.
When you go around when you talk to other people in your position around the league, when you go to these league meetings, is there an injury that is sort of cropping up more, like a trend where you're seeing much more of a certain injury than you have in the past, and what would that be? Yeah,
what you'll see is it year over year, it's a pocket of injury that will pop. And I'll bring up 2023. It was pecs throughout the league, but then since 2023, it's kind of subsided. And then there's a big league discussion about in which the game's played, out in space, engaged, and it's very, very cool. Network of professionals within the league that talk to one another, that try to help each other understand, especially at these league meetings. The NFL Health and Safety Summit, you're addressing those. And then as a group, the PFPCA, which is the Strength Coach Association, you're talking about ways to try to proactively address things before they pop up. But year over year, you'll see it kind of come and go, but nothing that's really popped up and stayed.
Trey Hendrickson, we saw some video of him
Yeah.
from day one.
Yep.
What are some early observations you have of him that maybe help explain the player he's been over the last few years?
Yeah. Elite physical specimen paired with an elite human being. From day one when he came in and signed, sat down, talked about his approach to taking care of his body, what that looks like, what he's looking to do in this part of his career, and then getting to see the work ethic in the first 3 days. We just finished, the third day this morning, getting to see those traits on display. In any specific drill we've put that group through, you see why he's been so successful, and it gives you a lot of encouragement about what's next.
Scott,
Two more for Scott.
From Jesse Minter.
Yeah.
I'm curious, how much has the program changed from last year, and if so, in what ways?
Yeah, the program, and I'll never say change, and I guess I should never say never, but I wouldn't say change. I say continue to evolve, and especially with Coach Mentor, the evolution of the detailed approach of looking at metrics that we're taking in now in the spring and how we can put them into play into training camp to then set us up for really the first 4 weeks of the season. I think that's where, from our lens, that's what we're looking through to have an evolution of more of a detailed approach.
Scott, from speaking of evolving, year I think 9 now for Lamar.
Yeah.
He was one of those guys who was dealing with injuries last year. Looked like he took up boxing in the off season. What
Yeah.
have you kind of seen from him in his evolution of this part of the season for him, and what are you seeing from him?
Yeah. What we've all seen from Lamar, and obviously talking to him in the off season, I couldn't be more excited for what we'll see in the body of work that we'll then get to see on Sundays in the season. I said it a few years ago. It holds true. It'll forever hold true. The energy, the work ethic that I don't think gets talked about enough, because we just get excited about what you see on the field. That's what's been really, really cool to be a part of and see grow in this time of year. And excited to see what we do in training camp to set up the season.